Hi there. Very good morning to all of you. So, as promised, I'm live at 11 a.m. And today we will have discussions on a number of topics, on a number of issues that the market may face going forward in the next 3 months. I'll also talk about some of the sectors. So, there are a few sectors that I would like to talk to you about. Uh, there have been a number of companies that have done well over the last 3 4 months. There have been sectors that are doing well. There have been requests for a few sectors for which I should be making videos. I'll talk about one of those sectors. I'll also talk about the markets where it is headed. Currently, it is showing very good strength above 10,200. So I'll talk about the markets as well. And of course, answer all your queries. Good morning, Harsha. Uh, let other people join in. Let a number of people join in. Right now I see only a dozen people live online. So I just want to know, how has been the investing and trading going on? Has it been good, bad, or how is it over the last 6 months or so? It has been 6 months into this year, and it doesn't look like that we'll get opportunities at 6,000, 7,000. But that is the time the market bites you. So basically, whenever majority of the people think that market is not going to go down and let's just pump in the money at these prices, uh, the moment that happens, after that things really go hoary, and you see the markets going down. So let's talk about the markets first of all, before we talk about anything else. So I'll talk about the markets, what I feel about it, and where it is headed. Second thing would be to talk about one sector, and probably two sectors if you call it. So one is the gold loan companies or the gold finance companies that have been running up for the last at least 1.5 years, and at least for the last 3 months it has they have tripled. So what lies ahead for those companies, whether you should keep on holding them, buy at these levels or not? So I'll discuss about those, and I'll talk about the chemical sector. Everyone wants to talk about the chemical sectors. Everyone wants my opinion on a holistic basis on the chemical sectors. I had started that poll, and in that poll also there were a number of people that were talking about what to do in the chemical sector and everything else. So I'll talk about the chemical sector in brief right now. I'll also make a video going forward on these different sector, whether it's just agrochemicals, chemicals, pharma, diagnostics, etc. Uh, at the moment, I'll just discuss on this live feed so that you'll have a incline of where I stand on this chemical rally that has been going on for the last 4 years. So let's begin by talking about the markets. So, how did you find the market? 10,300, 10,400 band at the moment, may go above 10,400, and then we can see 10,700, 750. May just get a sell off by the end of the day, and we could see 10,000 levels again. So, it is in a precarious position at the moment. Uh, uh, about the market, I want to say one thing, that one of the research groups, one of the investment groups, I think it was UBS or Franklin Templeton or somebody, has come out with, I don't know the name of that group, but they have come out with nifty earnings number for FY20, and that is going to be the same for FY21. They say that there'll be a drop of 11 to 12%, and we could see a nifty earnings of 400 rupees in FY21, that is this financial year. So if you take that into consideration, although I believe it would be much lesser than that, but let's say it would be 400 rupees at 10,300, we are trading at around 26 times. uh, at 10,400 it would be around 26 times, which is expensive, extremely expensive, but not overtly expensive. uh, I believe a reasonable level for the Nifty to trade at, even if we consider 400 rupees upfront, it should be around 21 to 22 times. So again, my levels comes to around 8 8,500 or so. So I still feel that we have an easily we have 2000 point decline on the Nifty possible going forward. uh, may even see 7500 again. I'm still not ruling that out. People have short memories and people think that the markets may not fall now. It has been quite few weeks since the markets have been going up and is showing strength, so it will not fall. The day you are more complacent about the market, and it seems like people are complacent about this market, on that day the things reverse. So at 400 rupees, I feel the market should trade at max 21, 22 times. So again, it should be around 8,400, 8,500. I think somewhere down the line, that number would come in on the Nifty, and I will not rule out a 7,500 again, probably in the next 6 months. Uh, and also, I believe that what the analyst and the major investors are thinking, that the investment is going to be tepid going forward, and probably by October onwards the investment is going to gradually increase. I believe that although investment in the markets would increase, although markets will open up from October November onwards, I still believe that we could see a trepidation in August September, and then again in December January. So we could see a fall in August and September. Let's see whether it happens or not. I still feel that people are expecting 450 rupees for this year. I don't think it is possible. Uh, so it is between 400 to 450 rupees for FY20, and for FY21, it would be much less than 400 rupees the Nifty EPS. So we could see 8,000 levels. Uh, that is the best case scenario for this market. I still feel market is expensive by at least 2,000 points. Uh, but then you never know what is going on, so any dips is getting bought into. And now what is happening is, if in the next 6 months market doesn't fall, then we are headed to 13,000 levels, because markets will recover, companies will recover, they keep on making profits, and this pandemic will go away someday in the next 6 months or so, and then things will just be normal, and then again we'll see that 12,500 on the Nifty. So it is a very difficult thing to understand. It is a very difficult uh, trade to make, that you keep waiting for the market fall and it may never come. So it's both the things can be possible, but currently with the situation that we are into, I think 8,000 is more or less possible. But if there is high liquidity and people keep buying at lower levels, then we could not we could see 12,000 coming up first, then 8,000. So that's about the market. Now about the sector. So there are two sectors I want to talk to you about: a micro sector in gold loan companies, and then the chemical sector, which I'll explain in details. So, see, the gold loan companies has been doing well. They have been doing well for the past at least 4 5 months, since that March fall. So I saw the charts of Muthoot Finance from 535 onwards. It has just become nearly tripled from those levels at 1400 up, and now the selling is coming into place. I believe that this quarter for gold loan companies has been the best. Probably they'll have one more good quarter at 48,000 rupees when the uh, gold is trading. Then you are seeing these stocks at 1,200, rupees. I think once economy does get better, once this pandemic ends, and that could end in the next 3 4 5 months, it could trepidate very fast and could reduce very fast. You'll see these stocks go down further, and well before that. So if I say in October things will get much better, then these stocks will start falling big time from July onwards, from end of July, early August. So be very careful in this segment. It has already run up. It would have been a very good trade in March. It would have been a very good trade last year, probably in November, December, and probably you would have bought into the stocks at that point of time, and over a period of time you would have gained a lot. But at this point of time, when the stock has already run up, when the sector has already run up by that much, I don't see much risk reward in buying at 1200, 1300 levels for a Muthoot Finance. I believe that you should be looking at getting into the consumption stocks for which people are negative at the moment. So an Asian Paints, a Pidilite, an HUL which has done well recently, a Britannia which is doing well but on declines can be bought into. If you look at other consumption plays in AC companies, in electronics companies like Dixon, Ember, etc., these are all very good companies. So a person was asking me, and there was a lot of queries about Whirlpool when I talked about Hitachi. So uh, both companies are very good. Whirlpool is a better company than Hitachi, but Hitachi is also not bad at all. When you consider the AC companies per se, with the kind of premiumization that the company has. So all these companies would do well going forward. They have not run up that much on declines. They can be bought into. But when you consider these gold companies, maybe the run up has been done, and there could be either consolidation at these levels, or could be a fall that we could be looking at a major fall going forward in the next couple of months. So in my opinion, one has to be very careful in these companies. I'm not invested into the companies, so one has to take that with a pinch of salt. There's a standard disclaimer. uh, but over a period of time, you could see consolidation and decline in these companies. Okay, the second sector and the larger sector that I wanted to talk to you about, and there have been a lot of questions about this, is the chemical sector. So, one need not be in all the chemical stocks. First of all, you need to get this right. So, you cannot just buy all the 20, 25 chemical companies and think that, okay, now I'm going to make a lot of money in the next 2, 3, 4 years. See, the chemical rally started in 2015, 16, when the fall began in China, when there was shutdown of chemical companies in China, and people thought that it would be a 1 year or 2 year affair or a 6 months affair, and it just continued. So over the last 4 years, we have seen a major rally in the chemical stocks. 4.5 years have passed. I believe any sector has a lifespan of 7 to 8 years to be uh, to for a sector to really go through a bull run. So we saw what happened with pharma and IT from 2009 onwards. 2008, let's take it 2007, 8 till 2015, 16. Pharma IT really did well. We saw the same thing happened with the infrastructure space from 2001 all the way to 2008. That is the infrastructure capital goods space. We are seeing the same rally happen in this chemical sector, a sector that was not talked about, say, 5 years back, but now it is called as a sector. So, which could be the next sector? That is anybody's guess. But right now, probably chemical sector still has a couple of years in it to do really well. As has the pharma, this pharma rally that is taking place at the moment is just a rally in which people will sell into it later on. When this pandemic ends, when things again normalize, people will get into economy stocks, people will get into all these consumption stocks, and that's why I'm keeping a faith on those rather than the pharma companies. So probably next 2 years could be very good for the chemical companies. So it is not to say that you don't invest at this point of time, but be very stock specific and choose the companies, uh, choose those companies which have the pedigree and which are the market leaders, even if they are expensive. On declines, buy those. Otherwise, if you go down the tier, if you go down to the third rung or the fourth rung chemical companies, it would not help you a great deal. So in my opinion, the best chemical companies, and many of you understand that Aarti Industries can be bought at 900, below 900, between 800, 900, very good levels to get into. One can get into SRF between 3000, 3500. These are good levels to get into. Vanity Organics around 900 would be very good to get into. Even on major declines to 800, they would be good to buy into. I think the declines could come in August and September. You can wait for those declines and then get into these companies, but have a shorter time frame. Look for 40, 50% gain, 30 to 50% gain, and exit. That would be my opinion. Even if I get into these companies, these chemical companies, I will definitely let you know later on, and probably I'll get into them for a 40-50% upside, and that's just about it. I would not stay longer than that. I believe that the chemical companies may do well for the next 2 years, may not also, because already 5 years of very good performance is behind us. At least 4.5 years, probably another 2.5 years is left. And you saw the consumption stocks doing really well between 92 to 2000. So that has to be also taken into consideration. That was the bull run of the Hero Motocorps, the HULs, and all these mega caps that have become so, an Asian Paints and all. Uh, which have become a reliance even from 90s, early 90s till 2000, did extremely well, so they become huge market cap companies. So that's what I'm saying, 7-8 years is a very good time frame for a sector. Now everyone will ask about which is the next sector. In my opinion, the next sector to look at is diagnostics. I believe the next 4 5 years, 6 years would be very good for diagnostics. uh, would be very good for health insurance, life insurance. But in health and life insurance, they are extremely expensive at the moment. So, will they keep being expensive or not? That is a different thing altogether. I think diagnostic companies would do well, but in the diagnostic space, there are many unlisted players. They will do much better than the listed players. So, in the listed players, there are few companies. There's a micro cap company that I have talked about on many occasions. There is a Dr. Lal Path Labs, which could continue to do well. If you're holding on major declines, you can buy. So that is my sector for the next 7 8 years. But I believe that even better than that, the consumption is going to come back in a better way, in a much better way. So I believe that the consumption stocks have fallen a lot from February onwards, and they have not recovered that much, even if they are at new highs. I believe that once everything gets to normalization by the end of the year, from next year onwards, they're going to produce very good numbers, because there is a lot of pent up demand for paints, for autos, uh, for all these stocks which are into baby food products, which are into biscuits, you can say cakes, you name it, and this demand will continue to gain traction as we go along uh, by the end of the year. So next 5 6 7 years could be very big for these large cap consumption stocks, per se mid cap and large cap consumption stocks, those AC companies, those electronic manufacturing companies, uh, again those biscuit companies, paints, etc. These will really do well, cars and bikes. So keep an eye on these. I believe in the chemical sector, as I said, Vinity Organics, SRF, Aarti Industries, the IOL Chemicals is also good on major declines. I think it has run up a lot, but IOL Chemicals as a small cap chemical stocks, it is pretty good. Pidilite, if you consider as a chemical stocks, it is pretty good to get into. These are good stocks to get into, but again, wait for major declines to get into, and look for 40-50% gain, and then you exit these companies. All right. So after all this, so I've talked about the chemical sector, I've talked about the gold loan companies, I've talked about the markets. Let's now answer your queries. Whatever queries you have, just shoot it down, and let's see how many of them I can answer right now. So Blue Joseph, electronic manufacturing, Dixon, how is it, sir? Dixon is good. On declines below 5,000, you can get into. I think it has run up a bit, so probably on declines you can buy. Okay. I would avoid these financial companies. I've talked about it on many occasions. Avoid financials, avoid any sort of financials, loan companies, and that's it, and you'll be safe. Westlife is good. Westlife is decent. I have not looked at the charts, but the business itself is pretty decent. One can invest into it. Naveen Fluorine is also good. I just missed out the name of it. So Naveen Fluorine, along with all the SRF, etc., is good. Uh, Vimta Labs is an interesting company, but I would like you to get into the large cap or relatively larger cap chemical companies rather than getting into mid cap pharma companies. I would prefer Dr. Lal over Thyrocare because of the kind of bandwidth that it has and everything else. Uh, Tanla Solutions is doing well, and I'm quite pleased to see that at least it is trading above 60-65 levels. I see 80 coming in the stock. I think 81 is the, you can say, the buyback price. I think it will go close to that. That if you are a short-term trader, you can book profits around those levels. HDFC Life is very interesting. Now, in these life insurance companies, I cannot just set a particular buy price. What I can say is that any declines to the 50 DMA, any declines of 10-15%, you should get into such life insurance companies. Can you make a video on how to plan and track stock investments in Excel? I'll do that. I'll do that, Manas, probably in time. I don't get much time with the house affairs, everything else, and I'll to do a detailed analysis. I would love to do that. So probably in near future you'll get it. Kaplan Point is a good company, but I would prefer getting into a Dr. Reddy's, Divi, Zipka, etc. Those are better companies to get into, or probably you can get into some chemical companies on decline. Okay, Kilpest at 190, 180 levels. It is on a circuit. Maybe you'll not get a chance to get into it. Uh, it's a tricky one. So it has risk attached now at 180, 190. Probably what you can do is wait for declines to get into the stock and probably wait for 2, 3 years. And I think you'll get very good returns. But on a short term basis, I don't know. It could fall also after a few circuits, it does fall. But the results are very good. And I believe that FY21 results should be good. I would avoid the IT space probably because so Nagaraju, I'll avoid the IT space because 7-8% sales growth, it would not suffice a high level of growth in the IT sector. FL India is good. FL India around 1500, 1400, between 1000 and 1400, good levels to get into. Long term should do well. Avoid Apollo hospitals. Never been a fan of Apollo hospitals, and with all these caps on what they can earn through this pandemic, I don't think hospitals will do that well. uh, More or less diagnostic companies might do better. Pharmaceuticals, chemicals might do better. Avoid the hospital space altogether. Aries Agro is an interesting company, but why don't you get into the best of the best agrochemical companies, such as Bayer Crop Sciences is there, and there are other agrochemical companies which are doing well. UPL is also interesting at 400, 440 levels. Okay, so Apollo Hospitals is an avoid. Which stocks in e-commerce and artificial intelligence to look for future? There is none in e-commerce at the moment. Probably what you need to do is AI. There's a Kelton Tech. There's another company in that space. Uh, Rather than that, I would prefer you getting into Reliance, and I'm not joking. I think Reliance could become that FANG type of stock that everybody talks about in for the US. I think at 1700 levels, it looks interesting. Aarti Industries for sure, Nagraju. I think Deepak Nitrite may do well, but I think its best move has already played out. So I would prefer buying Aarti Industries. Pidilite for long-term Pidilite is extremely good. In fact, I'm invested into Pidilite, so that's a standard disclaimer, a bit of shares. But I believe that Pidilite over a 10-15 year period can garner you very good returns at from these levels of 1350, 1400. Okay. Paper stocks should do well. I think there will be a pent up demand for all paper stocks. I don't know specifically about Andhra paper, but then take your own stop losses, targets, and then get into it. I have not done major research onto it, but on a holistic basis, on a general basis, I believe there will be demand for paper stocks going forward once this pandemic ends. I would avoid Jyoti Labs. I would get into better consumption companies. I've talked about many consumption companies so far. Bajaj Finance, I believe that the run I was talking about, 2000 to 3000, has taken place. I don't see 4 5000 coming into the stock very quickly. Even if that come in, there will be a lot of supply, a lot of selling. So what one can do is probably avoid at this point. And if you're having it, probably on major up moves to 3000, 3200, exit the company. I think the major run of Bajaj Finance that began in 2015 has already taken place. Uh, so there will be ranges, and you could trade into a Bajaj Finance, buying at 22, 2300, selling at 3000, like that. Biocon is good. I think Biocon is one of the underrated pharmaceutical companies. I think it will continue to do well reasonably, 17, 18% yearly growth. I would avoid uh, Bajaj. I think Bajaj Consumer that you're talking about. Yes, I would avoid that. I'd bet big on other consumption stocks rather than Bajaj Consumer, and I think Britannia is showing sign of a major breakout to 5500, 6000. I don't know when that will come, but Britannia is something I would love to buy if I had money. I don't have it at the moment, but I would buy it at 3000, 3200. Delta Corp, okay. Delta Corp, I don't comment on sin companies. So ITC, Delta Corp, you've seen I've not made videos on liquor stocks as well. I think I'm against all those companies, although they have their own businesses, and people do prefer it. Even in those companies, I would not prefer Delta Corp because of the kind of business that it does. Government can clamp down any time on such companies. Very good company, Maruti Suzuki, below 6,000, very good levels to get into. I think 4,000, that the low that it made in March, the low has been made. Declines should be bought into. Uh, Hester Bio can be bought at current levels on declines to 1,000. I think between 1,000 and 1,200, good levels to get into Hester Bio. Amber Enterprises, any 10%, 15% decline from these levels. I think Amber and Dixon both have run up a lot. So any major decline, one should get into Amber and Hester. Okay. Alchem Labs is an interesting company, very good company to invest for a longer period of time, say 8, 10, 15 years time frame, rather than investing for a shorter period of time. Okay. Both Titan and Bata are good. Both the companies are pretty good. One should look to accumulate at the point. I think next 6 months could be difficult for all of these companies, but one can accumulate for a 5 6 year time frame. It would give you, they would give you a lot better returns going forward. Yes. I would avoid both Dabur and Marico. I think other consumption companies are good. Voltas at current levels is pretty good. Uh, uh, Interesting company, very good company. Voltas as well as Hitachi, both are good in their own respect. Avoid DHFL if you are invested into DHFL. I'm sorry to say you need to exit immediately rather than uh, buy into, rather than just staying with that company. So kindly uh, get an exit out of something like such companies like DHFL. And I think all these kind of companies which gives loans, etc., on that petty basis, I think one needs to avoid at this point of time. Okay. A future retail is an interesting company. So there have been rumors of Reliance getting into it. It has not been confirmed. So I don't know. I cannot comment on Albert David. I have not tracked it for a number of years. So I'm sorry, I cannot comment. Uh, Alkyl amines is also interesting, but I think better see in the chemical sector. One more thing, and I forgot to say this: buy those companies which are related to consumer or consumption companies. So Something like a Vinity Organics also produce some of the chemicals which are exclusively for some of the consumer brands, some of the Surf Excel like, or you can say reagents for these washing powders, etc. Same as with Aarti Industries. So one should look at Galaxy Surfactants also is into the same domain. So these companies should continue to do well rather than getting into complex chemical companies which you might not be able to understand. At least I don't understand many of the chemical companies, and that's why I don't get into them just on the basis of the price movement. What is the second level FMCG to enter other than HUL and Britannia? I think I consider Asian Paints as an FMCG company. You can get into an Asian Paints, you can get into a Bata. I am saying consumer companies, not just purely FMCG. So look at all these consumer companies, whether it's the AC manufacturers, electronic manufacturers, shoe manufacturing in Bata. There is there is a Whirlpool, uh, which is into a conglomerate which is into making washing machines, etc., and fridge, and so on and so forth. So there are many consumer companies that you can get into, just not FMCG. Okay, Camlin Fine Sciences is a good pharmaceutical company, but I would prefer larger pharma companies to get into. Both say Abbott is a very good, you can say, portfolio stock for 10, 12, 15 years. Page Industries I would avoid with the kind of numbers that they are showing. Although the management was pretty positive in gaining more market share, but I would prefer more Abbott. Okay. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all your time. I've answered a number of queries. Thanks for all your support. Kindly visit my Patreon website. Also, the link will be in the description, and support me there as well. And I'll have another live session probably by the weekend. All right. So keep your questions coming in. Thank you. Thanks a lot.